Welcome back to the channel, where we don't just skim the surface, we rip it open and get to the raw, unfiltered truth. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because today we're diving headfirst into a firestorm that's been burning through South Africa for years. We're talking about a system so broken, so hypocritical, it's practically a masterclass in double standards. We're putting Judge Jansen and Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi under the microscope, exposing how South Africa's racial narrative punishes one for speaking truth while letting others slide for saying the same damn thing. This is going to be a long, fiery ride, so grab a seat, maybe a stiff drink, and let's get into it. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Let's set the stage with a truth bomb that exploded in August 2024. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, KwaZulu-Natal's top cop, stood up at an anti-crime summit and dropped a statistic that made jaws hit the floor. In just one district of KZN, 40% of the province's crime is concentrated. That's not a typo. 40%. Murders, hijackings, home invasions, you name it. Nearly half of KZN's chaos comes from a single hotspot. And then he went further, pointing out that of the 60,000 arrests of young people aged 16 to 25 over the past 5 years, over 57,000 were black males. That's 95% of the arrests, folks. Not a small gap, a freaking canyon. This isn't some random ex-post or a barstool rant. This is the police commissioner laying it bare. And to top it off, he said loud and clear, "We have a problem with the black man in South Africa." And what was the response? Crickets. Politicians nodded, the media yawned, and life went on like it's just another Tuesday in South Africa.
Our perpetrators, Premier, we felt we must put this light so that we can identify what is our problem, because we need to analyze what is the problem. The problem we have, you forgive me on this, but this is not me talking, these are the stats. We have a problem with the black man in South Africa. We have a serious problem. What you see here, we put the colors, the races of perpetrators that we've arrested. All the green, as you can see, almost everything is green here, which means almost everything is black that is committing crime. Out of total of 60,000 criminals that were arrested between the age of 16 and 25 years old, 16 and 25 years old, we arrested 60,000 criminals in this past financial year, in this period of 5 years, I beg your pardon, not in financial year, this 5-year period that we are counting. Out of this number, 57,691 of them were black men. Out of 60,000, 57,000 of them are black men that we've arrested between the age of 16 and 25.
Now, let's rewind to 2016 and meet Judge Jansen, a white High Court judge who dared to say something similar in private Facebook messages. She wrote that violent crime, particularly rape, was rampant in black culture, even calling gang rapes a pleasurable pastime for some black men. Was it harsh? Hell yeah. Was it reckless to put it in writing? Absolutely. But let's not play dumb. Jansen wasn't pulling this out of thin air. She'd spent years in courtrooms, wading through case after case of unimaginable brutality. She claimed 99% of her criminal cases involved black men committing heinous acts, like raping children as young as 5. Exaggeration? Maybe, but when you're staring down the barrel of South Africa's crime stats, it's not hard to see why she'd lose her filter. The backlash was swift and merciless. The ANC Women's League called her a racist. The Black Lawyers Association demanded her head on a platter, questioning every ruling she'd ever made. Petitions to oust her racked up signatures faster than you can say cancel culture. By May 2017, Jansen was out of a job, her reputation shredded, her life turned upside down. All because she pointed a finger at the same crime epidemic Mkhwanazi later quantified with cold, hard numbers. But here's the kicker. When Mkhwanazi said it, nobody batted an eye. No protests, no hashtags, no calls for his resignation. Why? Because he's black, and in South Africa, the rules of outrage depend on the color of your skin. Let's talk numbers, because the stats don't lie. Even if the politicians do, South Africa's crime crisis is a nightmare that keeps getting worse. The 2024-25 third quarter crime stats, covering October to December 2024, reported 6,953 murders. That's 77 people killed every single day. Sexual offences, including rape, hit 13,452 cases in the first quarter of 2024-25, with 9,309 rapes alone, averaging about 100 rapes a day. Carjackings, kidnappings, armed robberies, the list goes on and it's relentless. Data from the South African Police Service consistently shows that black South Africans, who make up about 80% of the population, account for over 85% of arrests for violent crimes like murder, rape and robbery. This isn't me cherry-picking, it's the reality South Africans live with. And yet, if a white person like Jansen dares to acknowledge this pattern, they're branded a bigot and run out of town. But when Mkhwanazi says it, it's just data. Tell me that's not a double standard so blatant it could star in its own Netflix special. White South Africans, who make up just 7.3% of the population, are caught in a brutal catch-22. They're told to check their privilege while bolting their doors at night, praying their kids make it home from school. They're expected to atone for apartheid, a system most of them didn't create, while dodging bullets in a country where they're increasingly marginalized. Farm attacks are a perfect example. Reports estimate over 500 farm attacks annually, with 70 murders in 2024 alone, disproportionately targeting white farmers. These aren't just numbers, they're families living in fortified homes, sleeping with guns under their pillows, wondering if tonight's the night they become a statistic. And when they speak out, they're told to shut up or labelled as entitled. Meanwhile, the government drags its feet, and the media barely whispers about it. Imagine if 70 black farmers were murdered in a year. There'd be international headlines, UN investigations, the works. But white victims? They're just collateral damage in the Rainbow Nation's narrative. And let's not kid ourselves about who's footing the bill for this mess. White South Africans pay a disproportionate share of taxes. Personal income tax alone accounts for 38% of national revenue, and with their higher average incomes, they're carrying a heavy load. They're funding a government that can't keep the lights on, with load shedding costing the economy 900 million rands a day in 2024. They're propping up a state where unemployment sits at 33%, and youth unemployment is a staggering 45.5%. They're keeping businesses alive, hiring workers, and trying to build something in a country that seems hell-bent on tearing itself apart. And in return, they're vilified as the root of all evil, blamed for every societal ill, from poverty to potholes. The hypocrisy is enough to make your blood boil. When EFF leaders chant "kill the Boer" or talk about cutting the throat of whiteness, it's brushed off as political expression. But let a white judge vent about the crime she sees every day, and it's a national scandal. When Mkhwanazi lays out the stats, it's just business as usual. But if a white South African dares to echo those same stats, they're a racist relic of apartheid. It's like South Africa's decided only certain groups get to be offended, and white folks just have to swallow it. Well, I'm calling BS. White South Africans aren't the problem. They're the punching bag for a government that's failed everyone. Black, white, coloured, Indian, you name it. And let's talk about that government for a second. The ANC has been in power for 31 years, and what do they have to show for it? A crumbling economy, a gutted infrastructure, and a crime rate that makes South Africa the murder capital of the world. Billions of rands have been looted through corruption. Think state capture, think Zuma's cronies, think tenders handed out like candy to connected elites. That money could have rebuilt the police force, fixed schools, or put food on tables. Instead, it's lining the pockets of the politically connected, while ordinary South Africans, especially the white minority, are left to fend for themselves in a war zone. The ANC's solution? Blame apartheid, blame white people, blame anything but their own incompetence. It's 2025, folks. Apartheid ended a generation ago. At what point do we stop using history as a crutch and start holding people accountable for their actions? This isn't just about crime, it's about a system that's rigged to keep white South Africans silent while the country burns. Affirmative action and BEE policies have sidelined countless qualified white professionals, pushing them out of jobs and opportunities. The unemployment rate for white South Africans is lower than the national average, around 7% compared to 33% overall, but that's because they've had to hustle, start businesses, and create their own paths in a system that's stacked against them. And yet, they're still painted as the villains, the privileged ones, even as they watch their neighborhoods turn into battlegrounds. The contrast between Jansen and Mkhwanazi is a perfect snapshot of South Africa's sickness. One gets crucified for speaking out, the other gets a pass for saying the same thing. Why? Because the narrative only allows certain voices to tell certain truths. White South Africans aren't asking for special treatment. They're begging for fairness, for safety, for a chance to live without fear. They're not the ones burning trains or looting malls. They're not the ones racking up 57,000 arrests in 5 years. They're just trying to survive in a country that seems to resent their existence. This isn't about pitting races against each other. It's about demanding accountability. Poverty and inequality are real, and they're fuel for crime, no question. But when 95% of young arrests are black males, you can't just wave it away with socio-economic factors and call it a day. At some point, you've got to look at culture, at communities, at individual choices, and you've got to stop punishing people like Jansen for pointing out what's right in front of everyone's faces. The crime crisis isn't a white problem or a black problem, it's a South African problem. But until the country stops playing favorites with its outrage, it's never going to heal. So, what's the way forward? South Africa needs a government that stops grandstanding and starts governing. It needs a police force that actually protects people, not one riddled with corruption and understaffing. Only 150,000 officers for a population of 62 million when experts say 200,000 is the bare minimum. It needs a justice system that locks up violent criminals instead of letting them walk free to strike again. And it needs to let people speak truth without fear of being cancelled or worse. White South Africans deserve to have their voices heard, their fears acknowledged, and their contributions valued, not demonized. If you're as fed up as I am with this mess, here's how you can make a difference. Join our channel membership to help us keep shining a light on these issues. Truth doesn't come cheap. Drop a super thanks donation if you can. Every bit helps us keep the fight going. Let the ads play for at least 30 seconds. It's a small way to support the cause. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it far and wide, and drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Is South Africa's government asleep at the wheel? Are white South Africans getting a raw deal? Let's get this conversation blazing, because silence isn't an option anymore. The truth is out there, and it's time we all started listening. Stay real, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.